everyone, what's up? It's not actually a new episode of CinemAddicts. It's a different type of episode of CinemAddicts. I think when we were doing Find Your Film, I think I'm overmodulated. Do I sound okay, Eric Holmes?
Yeah, sound great, as always.
Thank you, sir, and you sound even better. Look, here's the thing. We used to do this thing called Hodgepodge, where we'd bring a bunch of just disparate elements to the show. A lot of them would be Eric's interviews or a review, a straggler review here and there. And I think for this year, the year 2026 for CinemAddicts, we're going to bring back a CinemAddicts Hodgepodge as well. What do you think? Do you like the idea of bringing the Hodgepodge from Find Your Film to CinemAddicts, Eric, as far as titling the episode? What do you think? Okay, because you're smarter than me.
Hodgepod.
CinemAddicts Hodge. Oh my God, that's even better. We're going to call it these little things. They're not little things. They're little things, but they're big things in I think, our book. The stuff that Eric does, which is a huge part of what CinemAddicts is all about. He does a lot of these interviews. And then along with that, we're going to intermix some reviews from Eric and reviews from me, possibly reviews from Bruce Perky as well. And we're going to call it, what are we going to call it now, Eric Holmes? With your brilliant...
The Hodgepod.
The CinemAddicts Hodgepod numero uno, possibly? Is this our first time? You want to say
for CinemAddicts? Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. For CinemAddicts Hodgepod number 1, we will be spotlighting Eric's interview with homegrown filmmaker Michael Premo. If you want to actually get the video interview with Michael Premo, Eric's full interview with Michael Premo, check out our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. And then also maybe once I put on my glasses here, I'm going to give some mini reviews of a couple of movies that came out last week, The Plague and We Bury the Dead. Eric Holmes has his glowing review of Marty Supreme. He was saying it's the best movie he's ever seen for the last 80 years. I don't know. Maybe I'm misquoting him, Eric. I might be lying. He said, Marty Crunchwrap Supreme. Is it better than what? We'll see. Am I lying? I probably am. We're going to see what Eric Holmes thinks about Marty Supreme. And again, what I think about a couple of movies for this Hodgepod numero uno. But first, let's get to Homegrown. Eric Holmes. Who is Michael Premo? What was the interview in lieu of? What's going on with this thing that you have, Michael Premo?
Well, Michael Premo is director of Homegrown. It's a documentary. It follows 3 conservative Trump supporter guys, and it just sort of follows their lives, and it all leads up to January 6th. The interesting thing about this is when they made it, they didn't know that was going to happen. They're just following these guys, and then the filmmaker Michael Premo and his crew showed up on January 6th, and then everything. We all know how that turned out. But the interesting thing about in the documentary is they had no idea what they were walking into, which is cool. You have 3 different conservatives, but they got 3 different sort of. I guess it shows like the what do you call it? The different ways they think about things and go about lives. And one guy's kind of constantly ignoring his wife and trying to do like civil disobedience stuff. The other guy's trying to connect with Black Lives Matter and sort of reach out. Third guy, I don't really remember much about the third guy. But anyway.
Is it hard following people that maybe are you're diametrically opposed to politically, or is that not that shouldn't be what a documentary is about? You should be right. It doesn't really matter, right?
I would say the documentary certainly doesn't judge them, and I can be cool with people that I disagree with politically, but like one of the guys in particular, like every time he talks, I just want to pull my hair out or shake him and go, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Like he'll say something like he's talking and saying, "Yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen." And 2 seconds later talks about how he's going to get a bunch of paint, cause all this damage and stuff like that. It's like, you literally just said you're a law-abiding citizen, and then you're telling us step-by-step how you're about to break the law.
So funny.
But yeah, it's just interesting seeing them. And then they do the January 6th, and then it does a postscript of where they are now. And then that ending's really good because you see, okay, this is what we believe in. This is what we're following. This is what we're doing. January 6th happens. What now? And then...
Well, what's good, Eric, is it doesn't matter whether, okay, let's say you're conservative or independent or on the left. This is a across the board interesting documentary for whatever group you're with. You see what I'm saying, or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm watching it, pulling my hair out, screaming at the screen. But someone that kind of aligns with their political affiliations might watch and go, "Hell yeah, brother, go fight the fight," that sort of thing. So,
wow.
And that comes through because Michael Premo doesn't judge his subjects. He just shows them doing their thing. So it's not really making a direct comment on what they're doing. It's just kind of letting them do the thing, and then they got enough rope to either hang themselves with or swing from, depending on what your thoughts on that are.
Eric, I think what's interesting about the interview with Michael Premo is he mentioned that it took him about 7 years to complete the documentary. Do you see it on, do you understand why? Because I'm sure the editing, even though it was several years past January 6th, do you understand why it took so long to, I guess, make and release? It's now available now.
Yeah, and I mean, well, a lot of what they filmed, I don't know, was it maybe like a year or so? I don't know how long it was leading up to January 6th, but that's just a situation where, oh, we're going to do this thing, and then all of a sudden this huge event happens. They're like, whoa, wasn't expecting that, but kind of
Well, I think
horrifying. But at the same time, if you're making a movie, it's, oh, this is, you couldn't have asked for this.
Well, it's weird because I think the plot summary says, and you were saying it follows several people, and the official plot summary says it follows three conservatives from just different, just persuasions and whatnot. And I think it started, Michael started shooting the movie or prepping for the movie starting in 2018. The January 6th incident, the riot on the Capitol, the attack on the Capitol, January 6th, 2021. So
Yeah.
can you imagine 3 years of footage leading up to that day? And then footage from that day, and then several years of, I guess, editing, and I'm sure trying to find distribution or, yeah. So very
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Another great thing about this, because it's a documentary, but they don't really do interviews, like with the sitting back and doing an interview, name on the bottom screen, that sort of thing. You're just following their lives. So it's got a definitely like narrative kind of flow to it. So it's like, I mean, Michael Premo described it as cinema verite, which is pretty accurate because it feels like you're watching a movie that has the style of a documentary, but it's just a documentary.
All right. So that is, even though you were pulling your hair out for Homegrown and
Yes.
yelling at whatever television or iPad, however you were watching this, Eric, what is your rating and final thoughts on Homegrown?
I will go 4.5 on this. Yeah, it's a good documentary. And if I wasn't worried about pulling the rest of my hair out, I might watch it again. But
Well,
yeah, it's one of those things that like kind of gets me going, but in a good way. Like you watch those movies, and it just angers you, but it's also what keeps you interested and kind of keeps you going through it.
well, okay. So the good thing about this is Homegrown, it's available for rent right now, all the way through President's Day. You can go to homegrown.film to actually rent the documentary. And once you click on the watch or whatever rent tab, it'll take you to this application called Gather. Hold on. Gathr, Gather. And that's a app where you can actually watch Homegrown. And
Yeah, they got the link to that on the homegrown.film.
okay, yeah. So, and we will have the link to that as well on our show notes. So before we get to Eric's review of Marty Supreme and my mini reviews of a couple of other movies, here is Eric's interview with director Michael Premo for Homegrown.
Is it Michael Premo?
Michael Premo, that's right, yeah.
Premo, excellent. I'm here with Michael Premo, director of Homegrown. First of all, I'm sorry you had to spend so much time with those people. I was pulling my hair just watching it. I can't imagine being there in person. But what did you think you were getting into when starting this documentary versus when it finished? Or was this a situation where you had footage prior to that and you came in after the fact?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. But first, thanks for your interest in the film. I love your show, so it's an honor to be here with you.
Oh, nice.
We started this film, the ideas first emerged sort of in 2016, 2017, and we started filming in 2018. We saw this bubbling enthusiasm and momentum building within a bunch of different factions of the conservative movement, as well as sort of this change that was happening across the political spectrum. And we wanted to make a film to better understand why people were fighting and what people were fighting for. And we also wanted to understand why there was this sort of growing sort of trend of people who were losing faith in democracy and convinced that maybe violence was the only option, and we wanted to understand that. And so we started filming in 2018 and followed about a dozen people over the course of the production. And it wasn't until we got into the edit that we had to make the sort of hard choices around who would be in the final film.
Yeah, but you didn't know that you were walking into January 6th when you started this.
We could have never imagined that. We knew that something was happening, but we could have never imagined something like that.
Well, that's going to be like both like horrifying, but from the perspective of someone doing a documentary, it's like, holy crap, we got something here. That I mean, that's you got both sides of the coin right there.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that was like part of our just the amount of adrenaline we had coursing through our bodies on January 6th when we walked back to the hotel. We just crashed in our hotel room and kind of regassed ourselves when we took off all our clothes that was covered in tear gas, and we just looked at ourselves and we were like, I think we have a movie.
So, what was that like on the day? Because I'm guessing you guys aren't in riot gear. You're just sitting there with cameras and stuff.
No, we filmed sort of 70% of this film geared up in bulletproof vests and helmets and gas masks. We filmed we had to be we from a story perspective, we had to limit the amount of sort of violence we showed, but we were at the center of a bunch of sort of riots and police actions over the course of making this film. So we had been in so many situations where police were firing tear gas, and there was a lot of excitement that we had a system where we would pack our camera gear and then we would also pack our sort of riot gear. And actually, on the morning of January 6th, we didn't have it on because we had our bulletproof vests on, but we didn't have our helmets and gas masks on because January 6th was planned so publicly and it was so clearly stated in cable news and on podcasts and on radio and on websites and social media that the plan was to storm the Capitol. We assumed that the Capitol Police would have the Capitol completely surrounded by this large fencing that they do sometimes when they know there's going to be some type of protest activity. And so we were totally surprised that when we got to the base of the Capitol with the people that we were filming, that there was none of that. There was just police in regular everyday clothing. And we saw the sort of rioters push over one of the barricades and punch this woman cop. And she went down, and I looked at Rachel, who we were filming with, who's my producer, and she does production sound for motion picture. I was like, yo, put on your gas mask and helmet, about to get real. And sort of as we're marching up to the Capitol, I'm trying to balance the gimbal and put on my helmet, the gas mask.
Yeah, there's probably also got to be a bit, because not long before that, there was that storm on Area 51. Like when people are so brazen about that, like you think, oh yeah, this ain't gonna work. And then when it does, oh crap.
Yeah, like, oh, what are we walking into?
So also there's a bunch of, I think his name's Chris, and like he talks out both sides of his ass in this constantly, but like one of the things he says, I'm a law-abiding citizen, immediately before talking about how he's going to do something illegal, like throwing paint everywhere or whatever. When you're shooting people doing that and basically giving you the plans to something illegal they're about to do, it like what point, like with paint, that's not a big deal, but it like where's the line as far as like a documentarian that's, oh, this is fine, I'm just here to observe and report, versus I should probably say something to someone.
Yeah, I think the line is if an individual that we're filming is specifically going to harm, like wants to hurt or God forbid something worth to a specific individual, that's the line where we try to start talking to people or try to intervene in some way. But when they're just sort of talking about like throwing paint or doing these property crimes that might not necessarily hurt an individual, that's, well, we're just going to follow and see where this goes.
Was he just oblivious that he had a camera crew with him the whole time while he was explaining his devious plan?
I think he feels like he was such in the right, like that what he was doing was justified, like it was an act of civil disobedience, that it was like, oh, I want you to see this. I hope you see this because nobody else wants to see it.
I don't want to get too much into the ending, but I do love the postscript of this, of where are they now? And so the movie shows where people are now, or at least after the fact, but have you followed up on anyone since shooting this documentary and as much?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for someone like Thad is actually in jail for something unrelated to his political activity. He's in jail in Texas. And so I've talked to him a few times while he's been incarcerated. Randy is still an activist doing his thing to try to organize folks around conservative causes.
Yeah. And I mentioned this at the top of the interview, but like, what was it like being with these people for so long? Because I know my temperament, I wouldn't have been able to handle it because I can only bite my tongue for so long before I got to be like, dude, you're full of crap, and but you're probably a lot more professional about it than I am.
I mean, I think it's why I love making documentaries. It's because I get to spend time with people that I wouldn't necessarily otherwise spend any time with, perhaps, or I wouldn't necessarily see in other contexts. And so for us, it was just fascinated trying to understand what motivates these individuals to make these choices. So for us, we're just like along for the ride and just trying to understand why they're making these choices.
What's the biggest learning experience you had through this? Like, obviously, you didn't know about January 6th going into it, but what was something else as you were shooting? It was like, oh, yeah, I wasn't expecting that to happen.
No, I think one of the big things that really surprised us is we were expecting people to be driven much more by ideology, or I think in these our partisan debates with people, we reduce feelings and emotions and big ideas into these kind of ideologies or policies. And what we discovered was people by and large who are just for community. They're just looking for friends. They're just looking for meaning. They're just looking for purpose. And that was a big thing that we discovered. And the other big thing was how diverse the conservative movement is. I didn't quite fully understand how many people of color feel a part of the movement, see themselves in the movement. And that was a really important reason why Thad was part of the film, was because he did represent this sort of growing sort of multicultural dynamic present in the movement, which was something that we had no idea about before we went into this film.
Yeah. And so I don't know if I get the name correct, but Lynn Nottage is credited writer on this. I always ask what a writer does for documentaries, but
yeah, so
it's slowly starting to make sense. But what was her kind of?
That's a typo on EDB that I think comes out of IDMB's AI function that we're trying to correct. But she's actually credited on the film as the story consultant. She's a playwright, and I have a background in theater, and I've made theater for a couple decades before making films. And I knew her from the theater world, and she's always been a friend and a sort of a mentor, supporter of our work. And she basically, as a story consultant, she was one of a bunch of different people. Her and her husband, who's also a noted acclaimed documentary maker, watched cuts of the film. And we were specifically asking them for feedback on the story arcs as we sort of built out the different arcs to try to make sure that they were sort of full and coherent and help people sort of, and we're clear about, you understood a big beginning, middle, and end of each character. And as a playwright, we really wanted her sort of insight and instincts.
Yeah. And I mean, well, so you said you did plays and stuff and primarily do documentaries, but do you have any like sort of narrative features in your future, or are you just kind of locked into the documentary space?
No, I would love to make narrative features. Coming from having made theater for so long, it's an itch that I have yet to scratch. But I after making a bunch of documentaries, I'm really intrigued by the idea of being able to make something that doesn't take 7 years to make, perhaps. Maybe it'll take 7 years to raise the money, but at least you're shooting in 18 days or 2 months or something like that. That idea alone is really exciting to me.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't have to take 7 years to make it. Yeah, but as you say, you got to raise more money, so it'll take even longer. That'll be fun. What kind of ideas you have for some? Because like with documentaries get heavier, like, cool, I'm making a narrative feature, and it's going to be a light romantic comedy because I would like to sleep at night for once.
We keep joking we want to do a food series. Like, we want to just talk about something like food. But for narratives, I really like sci-fi. I really like being able to use sci-fi or horror to talk about our experiences. And I'm a big horror and sci-fi fan, so I'd love to make a film in that genre.
Excellent. Well, Homegrown, and maybe you can help me out on this. The premieres on January 6th, 2026, but it's on oh crap, I don't have it in front of me. But it's premiering on January 6th.
Yeah, but we premiere on January 6th for home rentals. People can go to homegrown.film to rent the film and watch it at home. And it'll be available for a limited time from January 6th to President's Day at homegrown.film.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about you doing a narrative feature. This kind of has a feeling of that. I mean, it's obviously a documentary, but the way the movie flows definitely has a narrative flow to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We really tried to make a film that was completely observational, completely verite, not structured through interviews, and the flow of the action is really motivated by individuals and what individuals are after and what they're looking for and what they're trying to uncover, and that's really driving the action. And so it has that rhythm and pacing that's similar to a narrative film.
Excellent. Well, Mike, thanks for joining me, and yeah, everyone check out Homegrown. Make you tear your hair out, or for some people, it'd be like, yeah, right on. They're saying the exact right things. But I think there's something there for everyone, and it's a great documentary. And thanks for joining me.
No, I really appreciate it, Eric. Thanks for the feedback. I love your show. Keep at it.
Sweet.
All right, Eric, we are back. I am trying to, with my failing eyesight, I'm trying to actually look at the Okay, here. You've been speaking a lot. I have a quick mini review of this movie called The Plague, which
Nice.
unfortunately we have not been doing an episode for CinemAddicts for the last 2 weeks. We took the last 2 weeks of the year off and we did the Patreon, which was good. By the way, our Patreon for this month is the year 2014. But let me say something about The Plague, which as of this recording could still be playing in certain cities and theaters across the US. Quote, an all-boys water polo camp at a all-boys water polo camp, a socially anxious 12-year-old is bullied in this cruel tradition of hazing and all that stuff from other boys in the camp. And this 12-year-old is played by Everett Blunk. And Everett Blunk he was starred in another movie. I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Griffin in Summer. He is a great actor. He's the lead in this movie. Joel Edgerton, who has received a lot of great reviews recently for the Netflix film Train Dreams. Have you seen Train Dreams yet, Eric?
I have not.
Yeah.
Oh, but the kid who was in Russ and The Old Way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
And Eric and I both loved The Old Way. But this aforementioned actor, Everett Blunk, he plays this 12-year-old kid who's being bullied, and he's trying his best to fit in with the kids. But along with him being bullied, there's another kid who was even bullied worse before him. And when he shows a little bit of compassion to the bullied kid before him, then it leads to his own exile from the boys' camp, from the water polo boys, all boys crew. And so there's a lot of swimming, there's a lot of competition in The Plague, and there's a lot of bullying. It's a very hard-hitting drama. Joel Edgerton, again, plays the water polo coach. He's oblivious to all the bullying that's going on. It's written and directed by Charlie Pollinger. I really love this movie. The score is very nerve-wracking. Just like how Bernard Herrmann's music really lifts an Alfred Hitchcock movie like Vertigo or Psycho. The score, I should have put down who did the score, but the score for this movie is fantastic and it really adds a lot of texture.
Johan Lennox.
Thank you, Eric. Johan Lennox is the composer of the score for The Plague. It is a very insular, brutal, giving, uncompromising movie at 95 minutes. Even though Joel Edgerton is the huge star, he's really not in the movie as much. It's more of a look at these boys. So the sort of comps are like the Stand By Me, or even more importantly, Lord of the Flies. If you like those type of Lord of
the Flies with water polo.
Right. It's a little bit like that, but it's very, very well acted, well done. The ending is, I thought, fantastic. Some people might feel the ending didn't close it off correctly, but I thought there's a really cool open-ended nature to The Plague. And it's a movie that is not easy to watch, but it will stick with you. So if you're looking for a hard-hitting drama, and finally, I don't know if you want this, Eric, but this is just Stand By Me. Did Stand By Me make you remember your own youth a little bit as a 12-year-old, as a 13-year-old? Did you have any nostalgic feeling, not about finding a body out in the middle of
Oh, yeah, that happens every week
right,
as a kid.
Right, as a kid. But just, did you feel a connection or not?
No, because I saw it when I was a kid. So
very good.
There wasn't any nostalgia there because I was that age when I was watching it.
Well, I was also around that age, but a little bit older than you. So I think we are at least 5 years difference, 6 years difference. So I was a little bit older when I first saw Stand By Me. I was maybe 15, 16, and it made me think of my own teenage years immediately, right? Even though I was in the middle of it, right? Several years later. But
reminded you of the time you were going to find a dead body. And
exactly what happened all the time in my neighborhood. I'll tell you, I don't know about your neighborhood, Eric Holmes, but I'll tell you this about The Plague. Now me, as a 54-year-old, this movie really connected me to how things were, my own version of either being bullied. I was not bullied a lot in high school, but there were a couple of moments where it was uncomfortable for me. It wasn't overly dramatic, but then also, to put a mirror on this and a self-reflection thing, I remember the time when I was not a bully, but maybe I might have gone with the crowd. I might not have been a rabble-rouser in the good way. It will make you look at your own frailties as a youth, and that might be uncomfortable as well. And that, to me, is what part of what makes The Plague such a very interesting, well done, and uncompromising film. My rating for The Plague, it hit theaters on January 2nd, and hopefully, as the year goes by, Eric or Bruce or maybe both of them will get to see The Plague. I'm giving it 4 stars. Really love this movie.
So real quick, I'm looking at like the poster and it looks like horror-esque. Like what's the plague portion of The Plague? Because you described it as like a coming of age tale or kids being kids, that sort of thing.
Good.
But
great question.
It looks like it has a horror angle to it. I'm trying to piece out what's...
There is a little bit of a horror angle. I don't want to give too much away, but The Plague refers to the first person who is being bullied, the one who is being bullied a lot. The kids spread this rumor he has a rash on his back, and they believe he's carrying a disease, a plague, which may affect the other boys at the water polo camp. So it can refer to the kids being bullied. Maybe he's really sick. Maybe he has an infection, and the boys call it the plague. But then, of course, the plague can mean something else, which is the plague of bullying, a virus that spreads throughout the camp.
Double entendre.
Double
it's not
entendre.
A single
double
entendre. There's 2 of them.
Double meaning, right? Double meaning, just like Animal Farm or Lord of the Flies. It's not just animals on a farm, and it's just not a bunch of flies with the Lord, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah, I guess he did mention Lord of the Flies. That's kind of that would be a horror element, although. Yeah.
Right. The horror being the violence and of the kids towards each other. And that's a little bit of what happens in The Plague. It's a very intense movie. So speaking of intense, this movie called Marty Supreme, I forgot the running time of it. Timothy Chalamet, a lot of people have
13 days long.
13 days long.
Well, I think it's 2.5 hours, something like that.
We don't have to. It's a ping pong movie. I think it's set in the 40s, late 40s, 50s in New York. And Marty Supreme, he just dreams of becoming the best ping pong player in the entire world, and he wants to put ping pong on the map in the U.S. and become an international star and make a lot of money. But he's laser focused on becoming this ping pong champion. And the movie, it just goes on on Marty's journey to actually take that crown and see what happens, whether he fails or not. That's a big part of the main plot of Marty Supreme. But here's the thing. I should Google right now what the running time is. That's just that's the overriding plot. But there's so much that happens in this movie that it becomes about so many other things. And I thought that was a good thing. I don't know about Eric Holmes. Here's Eric's review of Marty Supreme.
Yeah, this is what do you call Uncut Gems, Stress the movie. This is the sequel to that. More Stress the movie. Yeah, Marty Supreme, or Marty Mauser rather.
Thank you. Yeah.
He's kind of a dickhead, really. He's constantly getting in his own way. And much like Uncut Gems, where Adam Sandler's character is like has that gambling problem, so he's constantly shooting himself in the foot and messing himself up. Marty Mauser doesn't have a gambling issue. His issue is his ego and his character and attitude towards other people. Like he's a sociopath. He's a sociopath. Yeah, definitely that. Like he would go up to someone and say, "Hey, do you know who I am? Check out the newspaper, page 3, middle of the page. What do you see? That's me. I'm famous, so you should do this and this for me." And everyone's like, "Hey, go kick rocks, whatever." He is good at ping pong, so there's that, but shows him winning all these ping pong games, and then he goes to some big ping pong tournament. He loses, and then so now he's hurts his ego, and he needs to get back on it, but he just keeps burning bridges and screwing things up along the way. And just when he starts to get ahead a little bit, something that he did in the past blocks that. And so it's just like constantly just more and more stuff happening. And like with Homegrown, where I was pulling my hair out, the character is this, I was just pulling my hair out because it was like, oh, why do you keep self-sabotaging? Why do you keep doing that? And it's extremely stressful.
Well, he's a thoughtless human being. He doesn't think he's a guy who takes from other people and continues to take. And his excuse is because he has this big vision, and a lot of people are left in his wake of just a lot of consequences.
I have purpose for my life. You got nothing. You're just It was like all right.
His mother played by Fran Drescher. She's a loving mother and she's concerned, but Marty ignores her. girl that he is in lust with, possibly in love with, played by Odessa Zion. She is a big part of Marty's life until she's not, because he casts her aside due to his own selfishness as well. And then she figures into the rest of the narrative also. Gwyneth Paltrow plays a faded actress who's married to this huge business man, this millionaire at the time, and just business icon, played by Kevin O'Leary.
Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank.
Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. Yeah, Kevin O'Leary.
That was perfect casting, because he's just supposed to be a rich what? Hey, let's get a rich or a rich a-hole.
Rich a-hole, Eric. Yeah. So rich a-hole. So, well, what is your overall rating and review of Marty Supreme?
This is similar to Dancer in the Dark or Uncut Gems, for that matter. A really good movie. I really do not want to watch again. You gotta be in like a really specific mood to take this in, and I was not in that mood. I got through it, recognized this good movie. It did hit all the points and all the emotions and all the stressors and everything it meant to. But man, it was torture to sit through. Not because it's a bad movie, but just because all the stuff that continues to happen with the characters, the things that the characters do to themselves, all the situations they get in. I don't know how you rate this. This is like a 5-star movie I never want to watch again.
So, you're gonna give it 5 stars, or?
Oh yeah. It's a great movie. If you ask me if I want to watch it again, I'll say hell no. But I also want to point out that there's a bunch of really cool cameos in this. One, David Mamet, I'll give that one away because it's like very brief, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. There's a couple other cameos I won't give away, but when they show up, it'd be like, oh, hey, it's that person. They're really good in this. Certain mob boss shows up, and then who I thought was particularly good in this.
Oh, well, yes, there is a mob boss who's very good in this, and yeah, I think you can say the name. You want to say the name? You can say the name. Oh, you want to say? Okay. Well, he's such a good.
I would say I didn't know they were going to be in it, so it was a surprise to me. So maybe that surprises other people. I mean, it's not. Theirs isn't really a cameo because they're a pretty decent sized character in this, but it was just a surprise to see him.
Okay, so that is 5. Eric's review of Marty Supreme, 5 stars. I would agree with that. I'm giving Marty Supreme 5 stars. I really love the movie. My only complaint of Marty Supreme is the ending, where you have a reaction shot of Marty Supreme over something, to me felt fake and unearned, especially from everything that happened before it. Eric, what did you think of the ending without saying what the ending was? Were you okay with that?
I'm trying to think of.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. No. I bought it a little bit, because at that point he's went through all that stuff. He's a changed person, so to speak. So maybe, but I see your point on that.
All right. So that
you're talking about where he's looked through the window, right?
Right. Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
I see what you're talking about.
Okay.
Disagree, but not totally.
Okay, cool. So that is Eric's review of Marty Supreme. 5 stars for him. I didn't review it, but I still I love the movie. I love everything. One thing about Marty Supreme is a lot of people should also talk about how cool of an action film it is. There are some explosions, or there's pretty big explosions. There are man versus dog type of action sequences. There is a chase in the streets of New York. Yeah, stuff that goes through the ceiling. There is this chase in New York with possible cops. Who knows? So there's some really good stuff. Yes.
That falling through the ceiling thing, when that happens and you're squeamish, maybe take a bathroom break for about 3 minutes.
Exactly. And then Gwyneth Paltrow is very, very good. She's one of the best parts of Marty Supreme. She's very good in that acting role. I hope she gets an Oscar nomination. She was quite fantastic in this movie. As well, Odessa Zion is getting a lot of heat for her performance as well, and rightfully so. But I thought, for me, the big standout was Gwyneth Paltrow as far as the supporting people in this movie. Finally, before we get out of here, there is this movie called We Bury the Dead. Eric, it stars Daisy Ridley, and quote, after a catastrophic military disaster, the dead don't just rise, they hunt. Ava, played by Daisy Ridley, searches for her missing husband, but what she finds is far more terrifying. The movie is set in the island of Tasmania, and it also co-stars Brenton Thwaites. Brenton Thwaites, what happens is Ava, she lands a job in Tasmania for corpse retrieval because some military mishap led to the killing of 500,000 people in Tasmania. But unfortunately, supposedly these killings left a whole bunch of corpses on the island. And Daisy Ridley's character, Ava, she is one of the volunteers or people who are tasked with body retrievals. Okay. And they go into these neighborhoods in Tasmania to make sure to find the bodies and bury them or actually tag the bodies. Sometimes these bodies may move and they move very slowly. If they see a body moving, they need to alert the military. The military, when they go on these body retrieval situations in the neighborhood, the military is not so far behind. So once they throw out a flare or alert the local military about it, they will immediately shoot that person who is moving slowly. That moving person is usually undead zombie sort of situation. But Ava, she's not just there for the corpse retrieval job. She's there to find her husband. So she decides after her first couple of days on the job to ditch that corpse retrieval crew and travel 200 miles to find her husband because he's in a different part of the island. And helping her is that guy co-starred Brenton Thwaites, who's also part of that corpse retrieval team. That's the first half of the movie. The first half of the movie is with them finding these dead people in these homes, which I thought was interesting. But once they go on the road in search of the husband, there are some interesting moments along the way, which I won't give too much away. Daisy Ridley's good in the movie as well. It's a big drama, and it's more of a drama than an actual zombie film. And I don't mind that if the drama pulled me in. And the drama did not completely pull me in. We get to also, through flashback, learn a little bit more about her relationship with her husband. It didn't really interest me. It's not like I'm interested in human relationships and all that stuff, but for some reason, the inner dynamics of We Bury the Dead just did not, it was DOA for me. And I cracked over to our CinemAddicts Facebook group that We Bury the Dead should have been renamed We Also Buried the Script, because it just didn't really appeal to my sensibilities. Daisy Ridley, as always, is fantastic as a lead. She's always a good actress. And I saw her later that evening in another movie called Cleaner, and she was really great in Cleaner as well. I think it's called The Cleaner or Cleaner. I think it's just called Cleaner. But this one, for We Bury the Dead, Daisy Ridley is good. The ending is supposed to elicit some kind of emotion from the viewer. I thought the ending was cheesy and predictable. And I just did not like the writing for We Bury the Dead, but I did enjoy Daisy Ridley. So if you actually have seen this movie, would love to hear your thoughts on We Bury the Dead. Did this zombie film work for you? By the way, the movie looks pretty. It's a good looking movie. And I love the intent of trying to tell a different story trying to tell a different zombie story with We Bury the Dead. Some people might really enjoy this movie. When I posted my negative review on our CinemAddicts thread, there were other members who said, oh, actually, I saw this earlier and I like this movie. So I will say this, We Bury the Dead does have its supporters. Not me, however. I'm giving We Bury the Dead 2 out of 5 stars. And starring Daisy Ridley, 2 out of 5 stars for me. And Eric, why are you saying yeah? Because when I give something to...
Because that's a Greg 2 stars. That's like a negative 3 stars for most people.
Exactly. That is directed by Zach Hilditch. That is my rating for We Bury the Dead.
Am I crazy, or has Daisy Ridley not been able to really catch a break since the Star Wars movies? Because she's been in movies, but like they either come and go or haven't been very good, or like she's a good actor. Would like to see her in something good, but that didn't seem
She was in this movie called The Marsh's Daughter, and she's been actually, I think it's weird the way you say that, because I agree with you in a certain sense, but like you said, she has been in a lot of movies since the Star Wars years. And the good thing is she's getting a lot of roles as a lead.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of these movies I have not really enjoyed. For example, look at this, Eric. For We Bury the Dead, the critics' rating is an 84%. For the viewers, the popcorn meter, right, for Rotten Tomatoes, 47%. So you see a definite divide. The audience members give it 47%. The critics give it 84% for We Bury the Dead. This is one of these movies.
I guess it sounds like a critical success, at least in that situation.
Right.
Minus you, of course, but...
Minus me, yeah. But yeah, it's one of those weird things. But to answer your question, I think she's getting a lot of opportunities. I I don't question her choices because each of her movies have been different from one another. So it's great to see that she's different, dabbling in so many different genres. Unfortunately for both you and me, there hasn't been a Daisy Ridley movie up to this date which has personally resonated with us, okay, that we reviewed.
Yeah.
And
I guess I'm just waiting for that Daisy Ridley movie that comes out. She's great in it, which no surprise there. She's always is, but she's great in it, and the movie just clicks. It's holy crap, this is awesome. She finally got like some great breakout role in a great movie. That sort of thing. Star Wars movies are cool, but like something beyond that.
Beyond that. Well, I think what's going to happen with her is she is so good. You and I both like her as a lead actress. She's going to keep on getting roles, and one of them is going to really, really hit. And again, some of these roles are very interesting, even though you and I haven't liked a lot of her stuff. She was in I forgot the last movie that we reviewed her in. I think it was a Shout Factory film from a year or two ago. And I think if I remember, we both enjoyed her performance, but we ended up not liking the movie. Bruce Berkey, about a year and a half ago, reviewed The March's Daughter, and I don't think he liked that either. But anyways, that is We Buried the Dead, 2 stars for me. I don't recommend it, but again, a lot of people, it's 47%. Tell us what you think of We Buried the Dead, if it actually resonated with you. I gave, again, the Plague 4 stars. And finally, last but not least, Eric gave Marty Supreme 5 stars, and he also gave Homegrown, if I'm not mistaken, 4.5 stars. So
yeah, Marty Supreme, to be clear, 5 stars. Never want to watch it again.
All right, so that is our first Hodgepod for CinemAddicts, and we will be having more because Eric has a lot more interviews for next week. Do you want to give us a little bit of a teaser for next week? What you got coming for us? I think you have a lot of stuff concerning a New York festival, possibly, Eric. What's going on?
Oh yeah, the Dances with Films. Oh geez, we got a bunch of movies for that. Let's see, we got, where are they? Glendora, Zoe, Where's My Package? I think Infirmary is another one. Yeah, I just did the interview for Glendora today with Isabel Armand. That was a good one. And yeah, we got interviews for Zoe and Where's My Package, all for the Dances with Films. These won't be like wide release when we review them, but if you're in that area and you can go to that film festival, then do it.
Okay, so that is our next week. We're going to have a lot of cinematic stuff on our audio feed. If you guys can, if you want to support our podcast and what we do over at CinemAddicts, for the short one, maybe for the long run, please subscribe to our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. We're trying to reach 1,000. We're currently around 860-ish. So if you please comment, share, subscribe to us on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel, that would be great. Our Patreon is a $5 catch-all every month. We are covering the year 2014. Patreon members get an extra bonus episode each month, and we spotlight a certain year. And again, this year for the month of January 2026 is 2014. Eric Holmes, you want to say something before we get out of here, before we get out of this Hodgepod?
Happy New Year! Woo!
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting us here at CinemAddicts, and our next episode will be up shortly.